Hey guys, welcome to the Juniper Links accounting channel. My name's Caroline and today we're going to go over a pretty simple concept of company year end versus tax year end. So I'm just going to discuss what these two are and how they're different and also what implications they have and like deadlines and stuff like that. So without further delay, let's get started with the video. Welcome to my computer. As usual, today we're going to look at company versus tax year end. So kind of what these two mean, because a lot of people get confused and that is why I'm making this video. It's just a quick explainer video, nothing too crazy going on here. So, alright, what is a tax year? So this is a 12-month period which often coincides with a calendar year, also known as a fiscal year in other countries, and is mainly for personal tax returns. So in the UK it starts on the 6th of April, and due to something to do with the Gregorian calendar back in the 1500s, I mean you can look it up if you want to, it's kind of weird. Anyway, it starts on the 6th of April, ends on the 5th of April. The UK government, however, uses the 1st to the 31st of March 2020. So this is this year. And that is essentially their financial year for when they do budgeting and tax planning and all that stuff. But for personal tax returns, it's the 6th of April. So if you receive any income, it's going to be from this date going forward. So you cannot choose different dates for the tax year. These are chosen by the government and it is what it is. So that's kind of a quick overview of a tax year for you. So for companies, you have a financial year and it's a 12-month period for tax and accounting purposes. This is often the same as your accounting period for corporation tax, for example, with a limited company. So if you're running your own limited company, you will have a company year end, and then you'll have also the tax year, which is separate. So these don't necessarily fall on the same dates. An accounting period can be different in the first year of setting up the company compared to the company financial year, because it has to be a 12-month period, which means it has to be the 12 months from when you start the company to the end of the following year, 12 months later. And in the first year, it's always going to be more than 365 days. Which means in the first year of limited company accounts, you often have 2 corporation tax returns. The same thing goes for if you were to extend the company's year-end date for whatever reason, you just wanted to change the company year-end date, then you would have 2 corporation tax returns to do because you've extended it past the 12-month period here. Company year-ends, or as known as the financial year and accounting period, can be changed. So these can actually be amended. You can only extend the period one time for limited companies in a 5-year period. Otherwise, you need a special exemption if you want to do it again. But you can shorten it as many times as you want. So for example, your accounting period was 1st of April 2019 to the 31st of March 2020. You could change this end date to whatever you wanted. So you could instead shorten it to, let's say, like January for whatever reason, you just felt like doing that, or it fit better with the accounting period you wanted. In that case, you would still just have one CT600 to do. If you extended it out to July, let's say, then you would have 2 corporation tax returns to do, and be careful because the deadline for the accounts do not extend with the extended period, so they'll still be due at the same time as if they were up to March. So you'll just have less time to do the accounts. So keep that in mind. And why are they different? So why is the tax year different to the company year end? So the tax year in the UK is only for personal tax returns via a self-assessment. So sole trader, self-employed, extra income that needs to be declared, anything else that you need to basically tell HMRC about, you will complete a personal tax return, and the tax year is always going to be the same for everyone. And it kind of coincides with HMRC's own, the government's own budgeting and tax planning timeline, which goes from the 1st of April every single year. So a company year end is your company's financial year or accounting period. This is decided by what day the company is incorporated, but can be changed later. Let's say your company starts in August, the year end is going to be August of the following year, but your tax return is still going to be due, or still going to be up to the 5th of April for the previous year. So you'll have like 2 different periods you have to kind of keep in mind. Companies have their own tax returns and accounts to file, which are separate from self-assessment returns. This is totally true. So they need to file accounts with Companies House and HMRC. Sole traders can choose a different accounting period for their business instead of the tax year, but it just doesn't really make sense because you have to report all your income on a self-assessment. You might as well have your sole trader accounts to the same days of the tax year, since that's how you actually calculate what's due to HMRC. But for limited companies, you can shorten the year end or change the year end to coincide with the tax year end. For most people, it's not going to create a huge benefit to do that. A lot of accountants I know like to do that because you can do everything in one time frame. You don't have to ask for like the accounting period details versus the tax year end details and check the accounts and make sure they're reconciled. But to be honest, in most cases, it's not going to benefit you too much to change it to be the same. When does the tax year, so this is personal tax, start and end? So tax years for personal tax returns, self-assessments, as I said before, starts on the 6th of April and ends on the following 5th of April. This is always going to be the case unless they change it for some reason. This year, the 2019-20 tax year runs from the 6th of April 2019 to the 5th of April 2020. If you receive any income between these dates here, it would be reported on your self-assessment if you need to complete one. So if you're running your own limited company and you receive a substantial amount of dividends, you will need to do a tax return and report your income on your self-assessment. You can check if you need to complete a self-assessment by going to the gov.uk website. You can kind of like type this link in, but literally if you just type this line here into Google, you'll find the website anyway. And then self-assessments are due by the following 31st of January. So for example, this year it'll be January 2021 is the deadline for both the payment and the return. Of course, if you've got payments on account, which I am getting around to making a video on this, if you've got payments on account, there's a second deadline in July, so just keep that in mind. This is when your liability for personal tax is more than £1,000, and HMRC kind of ask for a prepayment, but I will explain that in another video. Alright, when does a financial year start and end? This is for companies not related to the tax year. So by default, the financial year starts on the company's incorporation date and then ends basically 12 months later at the end of the month. So for example, you incorporate a company on the 3rd of March, the default year end will be 31st of March 2020. Corporation tax accounting period will run from the 3rd of March to the 2nd of March 2020, with a second period from the 3rd of March 2020 to the 31st of March 2020. This is because it exceeds the 12-month period and is just kind of what HMRC want you to do. So this period here will cover the 12 months, and then the second period will cover the remaining partial month that's left. Going forward, it'll always be 12 months unless you mess with the year-end date for whatever reason. This is how the accounting period and the financial year can differ in the first year. It's a bit strange, but at least once that's done, you never have to worry about that again. Accounts and corporation tax are due 9 months after the year-end date, so 2 payments will be expected in the first year, like I said. Annual corporation tax return is due 12 months after the year-end date. So the actual corporation tax payment is due 9 months after. The corporation tax return is due 12 months after, and it's a little bit weird, but basically we do them together because this doesn't really make sense. But just to give you an idea of what is actually due, just kind of, yeah, I don't know why that is, but because you can't really pay the corporation tax without knowing what to pay without submitting the corporation tax return, and oh well, at least if you don't submit the return in time, then it's you still got a few months more left to do that. And that's pretty much it for this video. I mean, I hope it helps you guys kind of distinguish between a tax year and a company year end. I get this question a lot and people get really confused about it sometimes, and it's nothing to worry about. So if you set up your own limited company, the period will start from when you incorporate it until 12 months later at the end of the month. And then the tax year runs from the 6th of April of the current year to the following 5th of April. Every single year is the same, and it's for your personal income tax and for people like sole traders who are receiving basically personal income through business activities. So that's kind of what you need to keep in mind. But other than that, it's pretty simple and they're just 2 different things. So just think of them as 2 different things and don't worry about confusing them. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you have any questions or if I missed something, just comment down below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Or if you found it really helpful and you just love the video and want to see more, then feel free to hit that subscribe button and also the like button if you can. So I really appreciate it, and I'll see you again next time.